Hey, and welcome back to Yogi's Garage. I know it's been a few weeks since I dropped my last video, but I have a really good reason. I've been very busy trying to get this car ready to pass inspection, and I've been chasing down a couple of error codes. One in my previous video you saw where it was the P452 error or 442 error, one of those errors. I managed to figure that out, and now I'm chasing down a vacuum leak in the secondary air injection system. So a lot of technical stuff going on with this car that we got to knock out so I can get it on the street legally. And there's a lot of things also changing in Yogi's Garage. And it is now the summer. Kids are out playing in the yards, and I snatched one of them off their front yard, and I told him to come work for me. And his name is Gabe, and Gabe is a neighbor of ours, and he's gonna be my intern for the summer. So come on over here, Gabe, say hello.
Hi, I'm Gabe.
He's like 6'2", because I'm, really short. No. So yeah, so Gabe's gonna be helping me. He has very little experience working on cars, so I get to teach him all the things to do wrong and how to overspend and how to basically do things incorrectly. But we'll figure all that out as we go through the summer. So with that, we've got a lot to do. Gabe's got a lot to learn. He's already been helping me. He's been here a few days already working on getting the tools set up in my toolbox, getting them all lined up so I'm not going crazy trying to find my 10 millimeter. And he's already experienced that as well, losing tools. So it's not just for old people, even young people have trouble finding tools. So with that, let's get started. Project Pepper, let's fix it. All right, we're wrapping up the check engine light issue that I resolved in my previous video. If you haven't seen that, that was a P0452 error in the engine that would not allow me to pass inspection because I had a tank pressure issue. Ended up being a short to ground, but very difficult to troubleshoot. It ended up being the wire itself from the ECU to the front sensor. So what I did is jumped it and skipped that whole wire. But this obviously can't stay like this, and I need to get the car inspected. So temporarily, I'm gonna run this through the cabin. So I will need to get the battery out and snake that through the firewall right up to there and start soldering it in. All right, let's knock it out. And then all right, I'm using a solder seal here. This is temporary, like I said. So I'm not too worried about how it looks right now. I just need to get it to pass inspection, but eventually I'm gonna figure out where that short is and resolve it. But right now I'm gonna run the wire. I ran it through the firewall, and I've got a rough run here that I'll eventually have to snake under this lip here that I took off and run it under the carpet to make it look a little bit better. All right, it's routed. You can see the red wire coming out through the firewall and into the sensor itself. And then the battery tray has a foam liner on the bottom, so it's not gonna kink that wire. So I've got it all run. Then I have it running from the sensor all the way down to the side, down the side of the car, underneath the card, and then you can see it running right there. And then what I did is, depending on how soon it'll take for me to get back and actually fix that wire, I marked it. So you can see 5 volt to tank sensor, and then this one here says short to ground. So if somebody else is in here, they're gonna know what's going on. All right, let's cover it up and start this car up and verify that it's not gonna throw another check engine light. All right, I'm back in the car, verifying everything is still good. No fault code, that's awesome. As I mentioned in my previous video, it was a short to ground. So the moment you erased the fault code, it came right back. Now it's not, it's green, it's beautiful. Unlike outside where it's raining. So when the rain stops, I'll take it to get inspected and pay my taxes. I know you guys like that. Okay, so I'm back with Pepper again. I'm getting a new check engine light with her. And this time, it's a couple of things. It actually started off being an evap leak detection, but then that cleared, and now the secondary air pump is throwing a lean condition on both banks. So that could be a problem with the actual secondary air switchover valve. So I'm gonna need to make sure that looks good. So I've got it open here. I've got a vacuum test kit coming in tomorrow that should help me with this. But for right now, I'm going to poke around in there with you and we'll take a look and see if we see anything that stands out. Maybe that's just a loose hose or something. Unfortunately, the secondary air pump check valve, which I put up here on the screen, is in the rear near the air oil separator. And the other check valve is for the actual throttle body, the little weather vane thingy in the middle. All right, so let's take a look. Okay, so this gray box right here is one of the check valves, and there's a similar one on the other side of this crossover that if I have to service it, I'm gonna have to yank all of this out to get access to it. Kind of a pain in the butt, but I gotta get this car inspected, and I think I've been saying that for like the past month or so in all my videos. Is like, I gotta get this car inspected. It's because if it's not one thing, it's another. So I did verify this, by the way, here is your secondary air pump, and it is working. If you have a Durametric, you'll be able to activate the fan, the check valves and everything from the software. So that's something to consider if you run into this problem yourself. Sorry about the flickering. It's this light bulb. Okay, so try my little laser pointer instead. Yeah, so this is the secondary air pump right there. Okay, so this check valve right there, this tube goes all the way back there. Let me flip this light back on. Underneath, and I think that's the one, that's the crossover one that connects to the other check valve. So I'm gonna pull this snorkel out and see if I can get access to that a little bit better and just see what I see, man. Because if you recall, during the engine assembly, I did a leak down test from the throttle body and everything checked out pretty well. And oh, by the way, during the engine assembly, I mentioned that this thing was leaking before I took it apart, and it's still leaking. There, down there. So you can see it's wet down there. It's leaking somewhere around that area, and it leaked all the way down and onto my floors. So, but there's power steering fluid in the pump. All right. So it seems like everything is failing except for that piece of shit hose right there. I don't know. All right, let's take a look. Just a quick correction. These are called changeover valves, not check valves, right? You can tell from here, it's a changeover, right? So it either goes this way or that way. Anytime you're dealing with electrical problems, which, as you know, I've been dealing with, it makes you a little bit hypersensitive to it being yet another electrical problem, which are a pain in the butt to troubleshoot. So let's keep our fingers crossed. All right, I'm gonna keep poking around. The other changeover valve is right where that light is. Let's see, focus, there, okay. And that other gray one is right there in the middle on the other side of the alternator. Here's the alternator right here, and it's right next to the reservoir tank. So I was incorrect. This goes over to the resonator flap check valve on that side, which is fine, I think. But the other one down there, but yeah, that's where it's at. So I'm just gonna keep looking and putting all the pieces back together. There's a leak, there's a vacuum leak, small, somewhere. I gotta try to find it. So I needed a tool designed to test for vacuum leaks. You can use pumps and, make your own, but I love tools, and this is what I got. It is a Mighty Vac MV8 8500. It is the deluxe edition, of course. Thanks to Bruce, aka Texas Squirrel, for referring me to this tool. It's pretty awesome. It's got a hand pump that's going to make it really easy to generate vacuum or pressure in the system, and it's nice quality. So I'll put a link in my affiliate section down below if you need something like this to test your vacuum system. But I'm going to set this up, tie it into the vacuum line, and see if it'll hold pressure. And then after it holds pressure, I need to see if the valve or the cutover valve or changeover valve will actuate and the pressure will drop. So this is just a pressure test. Let's do it. So the line that I'm interested in testing is this line right here. And this goes over to the similar valve for the secondary air injection. Why they didn't put them all up front, I have no idea. Okay, I think I may have found the issue. You follow that line, this one right here. Yep, it is not attached. Okay, so I think I found the issue. You saw that on my borescope. This is why you need a borescope, guys, to get in there, get really deep, and you can see without having to guess a whole lot. So clearly that one of those little splits is not plugged into the vacuum reservoir. So I can replug it, but I'm concerned that it may not stay. What I need to do is to try to get at it, and I can't seem to get at it in any way directly, right? I can come at it this way a little bit around the manifold, but I can't do much back there. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I'm gonna have to pull the throttle body off and then maybe pivot this plenum over or up to get my arm in there. And I may even have to take off the oil filler tube to give me just enough room. All right, let's start with taking the air box off and then go from there. All right, huzzah, I got it out. So now I gotta try to get my arm down in there and plug it back in, but I need to figure out why it came apart to begin with. But I think the first thing I'm gonna do is disconnect the electricity in this car because I don't wanna get electrocuted by that starter. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do, I don't know if you can see that down there. Let me see if I can zoom in here. Yeah, my light's in the way, but you'll see the check valve down there, and then there's the ribbed. Anyway, I'm gonna put this on there, attach it to the vacuum pump or the vacuum reservoir, and then zip tie it on, and then give it a little tug and see if that is gonna keep it on there. All right, let's do it, because this wasn't a pain in the ass, but it's a lot of work for this. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and get the alternator out of there. There's no way I'm gonna get to it from underneath the car. That's a straight shot right in. So I'll pull the alternator out, of course, but I gotta get the serpentine belt out. And as you know, you should mark your serpentine belt in the direction that it went in. And that should be it. I may have to take out the brake booster adapter right there just to give myself a little bit more room. But it should be pretty straightforward. Just take the belt off, loosen up a couple of bolts, and it should just kind of pop right out. That's what they said. We'll see. Well, this pains me to see it this way with a big gaping hole where the alternator should be. But I think it's pretty cool that I can see everything now. And there's the damn changeover valve right here that was giving me trouble trying to secure it in place. And you should also see power steering fluid. It's all puddled up in here. That's what pains me the most, is seeing all that power steering fluid in there. So I'm gonna have to clean that up before I move on. But yeah, so here are the check valves, those two silver looking things. And then there's the reservoir tank. And if you see my videos, you know what this is all about. But there's a leak somewhere, and now I have to figure out where. But luckily I can get to it now. All right, so I got everything hooked up here, and I've got it directly connected to the changeover valve back there. And then I have it connected to my gun so that I can test vacuum. And like one pull pulls me to 10, no problem. And it's holding. So what I'm gonna do is test the changeover valve actuation to make sure that works. If that works, then the problem is in the tubing, and I can handle that. I mean, I can handle this too, but still. If any of you guys know what that is, let me know. I suspect it's the HVAC system that's making that noise, but I haven't gotten to it yet. I'm still working on the engine. All right, so like I said, I've taken out the alternator. I've got easy access to everything. I'm testing everything. It's holding vacuum, as you saw in the video, And now what I want to do is see if the valve works. There's no point in just testing the tubing. I need to test if the valve actually works. So what I want to do is I want to put some pressure. I got to do this with two hands. You can see there's already pressure on there. I'm going to put a little bit more pressure, and then I'm going to activate the changeover valve, all with two hands. Let's see what I can do. Let's see if I can stuff this in right here. I just wedged it in there. So you can see that right there. I'm going to activate the switchover valve secondary air pump. And we should see this thing drop. And if it does, then we're good. Let's do it. And there it is. All right, so that's good. So now I just got to track down the leak. I just think it was a loose fitting. Tighten everything up and then get everything buttoned up again. It sounds easy, but getting that alternator out of there was not easy. But it wasn't that hard either. And I got to clean up the power steering fluid, which is what I'm doing right now. And then I can get it all buttoned up. Let's do it. All right, so it looks like the reservoir tank, and I'll put an image again up here so you can see what I'm talking about, but it's this black dome-looking thing back there that's sort of illuminated, and it's not holding pressure, so there could be a leak in that tank, so I need to take it out and do a bubble test to see if there's anything coming out. And I think it's only one bolt, and it's that little Phillips back there where my finger's pointing. So I'm gonna take it out and then try to snake it out back this way. Wish me luck. Let's see. All right, here it is. See, one screw. At least they made it somewhat easy. All right, I'm gonna put pressure to this and see if it holds. All right, I got this thing in my sink and I'm gonna spray it down with some soapy water to try to find any leaks. All right, let's see. So you can see the pressure drops. All right, I found it. Look at that. It's on the bottom. Looks like I gotta go to order another one. You can hear it hissing. All right, we're gonna pause on this car for a moment. I know you guys came to see some Porsche content, but I need to wait for a part. So until the magic of editing takes effect, we're gonna switch gears. There's a love bug in here. We're gonna switch gears to Gunther. So before you click away, let me give you a little lowdown on what's going on with this car. Not a lot of people followed this video series, and I can understand why. It's a tan-colored wagon, but it's not just any wagon. It's, a 1995 Mercedes-Benz E320 wagon. This thing's a tank. It has the famous M124 engine in it. Is it M? Yeah, I think it's M124. And the story is this. When I bought it, the seller said that it had a misfire that he had, amateurishly diagnosed as being a wiring harness problem. I bought the car, drove it home. Wiring harness is fine. Ends up being that the car has nuts and bolts in the combustion chamber. That's right, nuts and bolts. And after breaking it down, I found the remnants of the pistons and the cylinder head. Those two were both trash. So I needed to source a new engine. So I found an engine, mileage unknown. I found it at a junkyard, pulled this old engine out, put a new one in. Here it is. So why is it back in the garage? Well, I got to get this thing to pass inspection because I want to sell it. And the only thing that's keeping me from passing inspection at this point is I don't have a horn. So I got to get a horn installed, and I'm just going to rig it. I'm not going to go all the way out, but I need to find the horns first. I believe they're up front here somewhere. I'll find the horns, put some power to them to see if the horns go off, and then we'll just run, some wire to here, right? There's a place for this to go. And if that doesn't work, then I'll just install a little switch just so that I can get it to pass inspection. But this car the body itself has 206,000 miles on it, and it looks really amazing. And then after that, I got a surprise coming up in a couple of weeks with it. I have a new summer employee coming. It's going to help me video, and I'm going to teach him all the ropes on how to work on cars. So we're going to have a lot of fun with this car in the next few videos, but I wanted to show you this now, and I wanted to see if I can knock out some low-hanging fruit while we're waiting for that. Let's do it. All right, I think I found one of the horns. Typically, cars have two horns. They call it a two-tone horn, so it's not quite as annoying. Oftentimes, you don't even know you have a two-tone horn. I did find some wiring on the junky horn that used to go right there, and I believe that's this right here. So I'm not sure. I may have to trace it, put some voltage to it, and see. But this is the other horn right there. I'm going to take that off. That's a 13 millimeter. Give it a little PB blaster. You know, this car's almost 30 years old. Needs a little love. All right, so I stole this diagram off of somebody online, but it's pretty straightforward. Basically, what you're doing here is, I bought all of this stuff at O'Reilly's, except for the horn. I took it right off, as you saw from the wagon. And I bought a momentary switch, a 4-way relay. Yeah, so those at O'Reilly's are not labeled as relays. They're called electronic flashers, but it's a relay. I mean, look at it. All right, so once you figure out the orientation and how everything goes, then you just wire it all up, right? So there's no power going to the switch. That's the cool thing about this particular setup, is that you don't have to run power to this switch. All you got to do is run one end of the circuit to it, and then the other one goes to ground. So the power is actually being pushed through the relay and controlling the horn. And then I'll ground the horn as well once it's in the car again. All right, I think I got a plan going forward here. I did find a wire that was already run through the firewall. I tugged at it on the other end. It looks like it's a heavy-duty power cord, but I'm not sure why it was running over here and not over there. So it might be something else. But anyway, I can run the other end of the circuit to this by just tying it to it and then snaking it through until I can see it in the cabin. And then that's the only wire that I need to do, because the other end of that would be grounded to the frame. And that's it, and everything else runs internally here. Okay, here's the horn on the bench, and I want to test it to my 12 volt here. And all I want to do is make sure that it does indeed make a sound. I have pretty good confidence that it will, but you never know, right? So you want to test it before you waste your time. Here we go. Beautiful. So now let's figure out how we can get the steering wheel wired up for this. So I'm going to be really lucky if this thing is wired up. The first thing I need to do is find the wires and just run a quick voltage test to see if they go anywhere. So I don't even know how to take this off. And I went ahead and marked center in case I do have to take the steering wheel off. There's a hole right there. Let me see. Oh, it's coming off. Oh. Oh, okay, I got some Allen heads here. And look, there's wires here. All right, well, I mean, that could go somewhere. I'm not sure. It looks like there's another big Allen head bolt down inside. So let's keep undoing it. All right, I got it out. All right. Wasn't a deep bolt, so I should be able to just pull this out. I don't want to fray these wires, though. Need to make sure everything is marked. And there. Yeah, as I thought, nothing's connected. There's the clock spring. It's a pretty basic setup. I see some wires stuffed in there. All right, I need more hands. All right, these are the wires that I pulled out, and they're very frayed. And they're old. I wonder if this is part of the biodegradable issue. But anyway, I'll try to run some voltage to these, or continuity or something, to see where they go. I'll trace them. All right, let's do it. All right, so now that I've got the electrical circuit planned out, I know what I'm going to do. Now I got to make the connections more permanent. And so, I mean, I could just leave it like that. It's not a big deal, but I want to make it a little bit more permanent. So I'm going to use this type. I got it from O'Reilly's as well. These little, put the screw through there and I can crimp it, but I need to get the proper length I also have a soldering iron here too because I plan on soldering the leads onto the relay since that's the only purpose. So I've got power. Luckily, there was already a J box or a junction box coming off the positive to a box down there. So I just tapped into that and ran the wire. Like I said, I'm just going to run it through the weather stripping. This is purely temporary for me anyway. And so now that I got power onto that side, there's my relay right there. I'm going to tie it all together and then run it into the firewall. Okay, no problem. Yogi Mama helped me pull that straight through. You can see where it's going. All right, now I'm just gonna clip it off, put it somewhere here, and start putting all the pieces together. All right, we're wired up. Check it out. It's kind of janky. Come on, camera. It's kind of janky, I know, but hey, man, it's better than not having a horn. All right, let's test it out. Woo-hoo-hoo! I'm gonna pass inspection. Yeah. We are getting ready to install this part that needs to be replaced. As I showed you earlier in the video, the part on the bottom sprung a leak, and apparently that's a pretty common issue with this part. And of course, this thing has over 100,000 miles, so it should have been expected. What I want to do before we go any further is test it to make sure that this also does not have a leak. There's no point of putting it all in there if it's just going to spring a leak. All right, so I have it all plugged in. I've got the adapter in place, and all I want to do is put a little bit of pressure in the tank, positive pressure, and make sure that it doesn't drop, and it's not. And then what I want to do after that is put some negative pressure in it. And all I have to do is flip this switch down and it switches to negative pressure. And what you don't want to see is the number drop. Looks good. Not moving. Is that moving to you?
No, sir.
I'm just kind of assessing where everything is, getting myself re-familiar with this. It's been a few days. And I have had a few nights of sleep, so I've forgotten, but I think I know where it goes and how it's supposed to fit. So I'm gonna have to come at it from this side so you can see, as I showed you earlier in the video, I had to take the throttle body and the cross member off to get in there and then move the starter ground wire out of the way so that I can make room. So let's go ahead and get that going. Cabling, there it goes. Fell over. Now I'm gonna put it in its place. Can you see any of that?
A little.
Okay, there, I got it. Oh! Okay, right there. Now, I can just run it in first. There we go. And then I can bring it to me. Okay, perfect. Now I got it. Now, and then get this damn screwdriver right on it. Got it. Yeah, got it. All right. The ground. The ground makes me do it a certain way here. Okay, that's a 2-wire sensor. And then the grounding strap. alternator has to come in at an angle so that it drops into this little guide over here on this side. So let me just take this out, see if they have any better luck with this out. All right, I got it in, but as you saw, I was struggling because you don't want to force it, right? You've got a lot of big brittle pieces of metal here. You don't want to, mess it up. So you just got to take your time. And I had to take this thing out because it wouldn't go in and align right. So I'm sure there's an easier way to keep this in and to just kind of drop it into place. But when you're dealing with all of this interference, you may not have that luxury. Okay, so now what I got to do is thread that in. But you can see it's kind of at a weird angle. So which means that I've got to line it up. I remember when I had to put this alternator in the first time, I had trouble with this as well. And it's just because it's an alignment issue. You just gotta be patient, like I said about that right there, see? And then start the threads. There, okay, so now I'm in. And this can go down, and then I can thread that bolt in next. All right, so now that we've got the alternator in, I'm gonna reattach the vacuum and the check valves here on the front and make sure everything is still reconnected. But this was the first time Gabe has turned a wrench in Yogi's garage, but it won't be the last. Okay. And this thing has something like that on it. I just gotta remember how it goes. And there's a little tab that tells you which way. Nope. What the hell? How does this thing go? Let's try that again. All right, let's try it again. All right, like this. And I might have to go back to my videos. That's why you always take pictures, man, because you never know. You'll forget something, you'll do something wrong, and you just gotta reference what you did before. I wanna say it goes like that. Yes, it does, okay. Because that's where the changeover valve goes. You don't need to go crazy with these. Just a little bit of muscle, all right? And then what I like to do is just to make sure, just give it a little ugga-dugga. In fact, it's called an ugga. Ugga. Don't go crazy because it's plastic. Ugga. Good enough. Good. Okay. Now, let's put this guy back in. So back there is the starter for the engine. And I took the grounding cable off so I could get my hands in there. But now I need to put it back on. And see, there's a post right there. I just gotta get my grubby mitt and thread it back on. I gotta get this collar back on, but I gotta make sure it's gonna go on easy. So I'm using some silicone spray here to lube things up. I think I'm gonna come at it from this angle. Okay. This is gonna take some finagling, but I think this is a good start. Hey, all right. Got it. Yeah, so I want to get this back on there, but it leaked all of its fluid out of the top portion here, and it's not leaking from the body. You can clearly see there's no film or anything on it. It's all here. And these are new O-rings, and there's a green O-ring right here on the other part of the power steering, but yet it's still, I still got problems. All right, so let's see if maybe it's just a matter of not being seated properly. There, that's in. And then a turn. There we go. Okay. had to guess, you see that? See that movement right in there? You see that movement between the two pieces? See how it's kind of wet right in there? And when I move this, you can see
Stuff's coming out.
yeah. Huh. It may need a new O-ring set. Ooh, that's a nice fit. That's really good. Okay. And now, but still, man, I feel like it's looser. There, you hear that? It went, that was nice. Okay. Ooh, yeah. It's still wobbly, but I noticed a big difference in how it was moving. When I pushed it in, it was like, boom. Okay, good. Collar here, it seals the deal. I'm not gonna be able to get off into the long back here. I can always talk over it. Just like that. Nice. Wait, I have an extra bolt. You see if I would tighten that up, it would have never fit. Just get this in there. All right, I need 10 mil. That one, give me my gun here. Good. I just want to hold it. Okay, before I stick this in here, I need to measure the thickness. Keep your other hand on it.
On this?
On whatever, so keep it from falling out of the socket. There you go, that's one.
Go up here.
Uh-huh. Take your time. You got it, brother. Witness mark. Okay. And there you go. Got a complete vacuum system working, I hope. Now I just gotta tighten all this up. Okay. Now that it's all on, yeah, come down here and look. You see how the belt's not completely on there?
Yeah.
That could be bad, right? This is your crank. This is where the main power comes from. So we need to make sure that's on all the way. So give it a little loose and just finish it up. Okay. And now there. And just check to make sure that all the teeth are lined up. Water pump looks good. Tensioners look good. Pulleys look good. Good. All right. Like that, see? And then it'll give you good access to that screwdriver. I think once you see the way I'm going to cut this video, you'll know more on how I like it. Kind of one final ooga-dooga. One bolt. And see, this is what you want to see when you're done working. What do you see in there?
Nothing.
Exactly. That means all the bolts are accounted for. Secondary air pump helps burn off all of the excess gas in the air.
The pollution gas? Or
Yeah.
okay.
It recirculates any unspent or unburnt gas. Cool. Start timing.
Yeah,
That's okay. Just correct your mistake. Now you can take that cheater bar out. Yeah. No, it's bolted in now. Okay, now on the top of that gun, see that little button there? Press it till it goes to 2. Okay, now start at the top and do a star pattern. Uh-huh. Get it in there. Go for it. Hold it. Okay, next one. Start. There you go. Okay. Yep, very good. Hold it down. Okay, good. That one. Okay, now press it again, that button, to go to 3, and do the same thing all the way around. You can go in a circle at this point. That's good. We're gonna torque it anyway, just want it nice and tight. Okay, so as you saw, there's a lot of little things that I had to get in there and reconnected. And everything sounds great, but about halfway through our drive, the throttle started to raise a little bit, so it sounds like I have a vacuum leak. I ran a system scan and I have some pending codes, so it looks like that collar on the throttle may still be a little loose. But I know what that's about because it's a lean condition, easy to fix. So I'm gonna classify this as a pass and a complete project, and now I can drive it off and get it inspected within the next few days. So with that said, thanks for watching Yogi's Garage. Be sure to like and subscribe. I know a lot of you guys out there just kind of skim through these videos, but it means a lot to me and the channel if you can just take the time to hit the little thumbs up. Hell, even hit the thumbs down. It's better than nothing, right? All right, and when you like and subscribe, I actually can pay this kid. So for every like and every subscription, he gets 10 cents. And that's a lot in today's standards. So 10 cents, you can get what, a pack of bubble gum and yes, no? Okay, well, we're gonna figure all that out later through Yogi Mama Human Resources. But like I said, so with that, we'll see you next time on Yogi's Garage.